Welcome to PA Timber Goose. It's almost that time of the year. Leaves are starting to change. We'll sight my 2 crossbows in today. I'll give them a few shots. I have an Excalibur micro suppressor and I have a 308 short. I have not taken a deer with this yet. This is my backup crossbow and this is the one I use most of the time. I've always had 2 crossbows because if the limbs break on one, your season can be cut short. It may take weeks for them to repair your limbs. Hopefully they have the parts to replace them and you don't get it back 4 months later. I've had 2 different sets of crossbows. The first 2 I bought were 10-point turbos. And in case one of the limbs broke on one of them, I had another one to hunt with. I learned that lesson the hard way. I had my week's vacation cut short when my limbs snapped. On my first morning out, I had to take a trip to the archery shop where I bought it from, which was not very close. I've had strings snap on my 10-point turbos and I cannot replace the strings. Both of these crossbows have the same strings on both. There's a lot of road noise back there, so it might get kind of noisy. Both of these crossbows take the same strings and the limbs on both of them are very similar, except the limbs on this are a little bit heavier. Everything else is the same. I have a cocking device down here, which I can put this on either one. I'm not a big fan of internal cocking systems because if something there breaks, you're going to struggle with it depending upon how heavy your limbs are and then how much force you got to put on there to cock the crossbow. This has a little pin in here. I can take this off the micro suppressor very easy, put it on a 308 short and continue what I was doing. Either bow I can cock with a rope cocker. The new faster bows that have heavier limbs, I'm not sure if you could actually pull them back with a rope cocker. If you have a reverse draw crossbow, I'm not sure you could cock the limbs based on how heavy your limbs are. A lot of those are shooting at 400 plus. I believe the draw weight on the micro suppressor is about 280 pounds. The micro, I think it's right around 200 or 220. Micro suppressor shoots at 350 feet per second. 308 short shoots around 300 feet per second. A little bit slower, but it's a broadhead that does the work, not the force of the arrow. Unless you're shooting mechanicals. Okay, so there's my 2 crossbows. Anytime I go on a big road trip and I'm far from home, I have 2 crossbows with me. Even if hunting partner's 10-point turbo breaks, we have a spare bow to shoot. We don't have to cut our time short. What do you like better, internal cranks or ones that are removable, or the rope? I always have a rope cocker in my pocket plus this, so I have backup. I've had this fall off of my crossbow in a tree stand and hit the ground before I got my crossbow cocked. So I was in a pickle, but luckily I had my rope cocker in my pocket and I put the rope cocker on there, did a squat, stood up, and I was back in business. Question about reverse draw crossbows. If you own one of those, how many times do you usually shoot that before your arrows start to do strange things? Which means one of your axles bent or one of your strings or cables stretched. I was looking at a few of them and I'm very curious about how well they shoot. I've had some issues with strings and cables stretching in the past and broadheads that I could not tune, so I had to keep shooting broadheads. So I found that one till I found one that would fly straight like a laser beam. But anyhow, here's my cocking device. Let's put this back on my micro suppressor here. There's a spot in the back and 2 little metal plates that this pops into. And generally I don't take this off. This will stay on here the entire season. There we go. So, to date, this crossbow has taken 12 deer. Only 2 got away from me because it was my part. I put a bad shot on them. I'm not sure if they jumped the string or I clipped something while the crossbow bolt was in flight. We did have a doe jump a lighted crossbow knock, and to this day I will not use them anymore. So, how do you feel about lighted knocks with a crossbow? Do you use them? Definitely helps at night, but I think the deer can see them and it spooks them a little bit. range-finding scopes. Do you like range-finding scopes? Or do you prefer old school? I have a Nikon rangefinder. This is actually for archery, and this says Arrow ID technology. So if I'm in a tree stand and I'm aiming down, I'm getting a true distance, and I don't have to compensate over or under. I've had this for quite a while. Nothing has ever happened to this. I just changed my lithium battery today. They usually last about 2 or 3 years, and I've been really happy with this so far. No need for this in rifle season, but only, you know, archery. Usually what I do is I range all the trees in the area where a deer might pop out. If you have a laser rangefinder in your scope, you can actually put the crossbow up and range find the shot before you pull the trigger. Unfortunately, crossbows are not very efficient at using energy. With my setup, this produces 100 pounds of kinetic energy. You know, unfortunately, I do not have a high-speed camera, but if you watch Death by Bungie, you can actually watch him shoot his crossbows with that high-speed camera, and you can see how much the risers flex and the limbs flex, and even your scope will flex to a great extent. It's actually mind-boggling how he made that video, but your crossbow will only use about 30% of the energy. So if you put that laser rangefinder scope on there and that damages your scope from the vibration, and you squeeze the trigger on a nice buck, you're probably going to miss maybe 1 or 2 till you realize that it damaged your scope. So this is much cheaper. This is about $200. The laser rangefinding scope is much more, and I've been very happy with this. I tightened all my screws up today. My scope was actually moving on the base. These 4 screws came loose here. I cleaned them all out with alcohol, thread locked them. Now we're back in business. It should be good for a few more years. I put my crossbows through a lot of punishment through the season. I might fire 200 or 300 rounds, and when I'm hunting, my crossbow may stay cocked for 8 hours. A lot of times at lunchtime when it slows down, I will put my limbs back down and give them a rest. So these crossbows are very accurate. Excalibur. There's really nothing that can go wrong. I only have 1 string. I don't have 4 to 6 strings. My crossbow bolt is actually sitting on this rail. There's nothing to break. My stirrup never came off. Unfortunately, the problem I have, sometimes these will come loose. And I had some string dampeners here. I took them off because they would not stay on there. Today, one of the string dampeners came off of this side. It was laying where I was shooting. So I'm probably going to take this one off too. This is the side it fell off of. I super glued them on the micro suppressor, but they still don't come on. They still won't stay on there. As far as noise level, these are very noisy, but by the time you pull the trigger, it makes no difference. My maximum range is about 40 yards. I really don't want to shoot past that. Even though you have a crossbow that's capable of it, they say now that you can shoot 100 yards with your crossbow. Tell me if you think that's ethical, shooting a buck at 100 yards with a crossbow, even though your equipment is possible. The problem, even if you had a rifle, when you start taking long shots, you start losing your kinetic energy or static shock, and you won't get expansion on your bullet. So what'll happen with a crossbow, if you hit a rib and you don't have enough energy, it's probably just going to wound that deer, where if you would have waited for another day or try to get closer, you might get a second shot at that beautiful animal. But I'm not willing to take that chance. So you can leave me some thoughts on that. Maximum range for a crossbow shot. And I'm very happy with those two. They are very accurate and very consistent. One thing they did tell me at the archery shop is that if I was going to Colorado or something, or out of state, you can actually buy extra limbs for this bow and take them with you. You could take 1 or 2 sets. I do not shoot a heavy arrow. I see a lot of things on YouTube about shooting heavy arrows, and I've had a lot of comments. Why are my arrows so light? I shoot a 100 grain archery broadhead. It's not even a crossbow broadhead. with my setup, it actually shoots like a laser beam. Wherever you point it, it will hit. It's very fast. And I have plenty of kinetic energy. So with my quill crossbow bolt and my 100 grain broadhead, it will produce 100 pounds of energy. And every deer I've shot, it has a complete pass through. You can actually pace off 15 feet on the other side of the deer. So how much kinetic energy do you actually need to take down a deer? They are a thin-skinned animal, and they are definitely not big game. This one is perfectly capable of taking down any buck as long as you put it in the right spot. But this one has a lot more power. 100 pounds of kinetic energy is a lot. I've broken shoulder blades with this very easily. And they didn't go far. I walked up, put another one in them, but I still knocked a few buck down hitting that shoulder. There's some thoughts on my Excalibur crossbows. Let me know what you prefer in your setup. Thanks for watching PA Timber Ghost 2. Hopefully you'll shoot a nice mature buck this year. Or a beautiful bear. I saw a few of them last year. Give this video a thumbs up, it helps the algorithm. Hit that subscribe button to help my channel grow. And as always, we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching PA Timber Ghost 2.